Guys, today we are going to look at layouts in Java. Layouts basically they will define how our components will be displayed in our container. For example, on my screen, what we have is a border layout displaying panels in a Java frame. So basically, a border layout will have 5 positions. It will have the north, the south, the east, the west, and the center. This layout, if the size for this Java frame changes when it's using a border layout, the middle component will stretch to fill up the extra space. For example, if I come here and I pull like this middle component will stretch to fill up the extra space. Or for example, if I come here and I maximize this middle component will stretch to fill up the extra space. So how can we use this layout? For example, we can use this to structure components in our program. Like we can come here at the top, we put maybe a menu. We come at the side, we can put a sidebar. We come at the bottom, we can put a footer. We come here at the other hand, we can put something else or any other information. And here in the middle or in the center, we'll position our main content or our main components, which will be stretching based on the size of the frame. So with that said, let's dive in and we'll develop this step by step. So I'll close this. I'll come here in my program. I'll first cut out everything because I already did this. So we'll develop it step by step. I'll cut this out and paste it in a notepad. So guys, when you look at this structure, this is the structure, the same structure we ended with in the last sessions. When you look at these lines, on line 13, I'm calling the method which is main frame, which is this one. Also, it's worth remembering that anything which is in between these color braces will be executed. So this is where our program execution will be. So when I call this method, it's calling it's going to return a main frame. Which main frame? This main frame I created on line 18. So basically on line 17 here, I created a method which is static, which is public, static, final, and it's returning a J frame. And this method, I gave it a name, which is main frame. On line 18, I went on to create the main frame, which will be returned, or which we are going to customize and add all our components, and then we return it wherever we call this method. On line 19, I went on to set its size to a dimension of 500 height and 500 width. So on line 20, I went on to set the default close operation to exit on close, so that in case we click on this X button, we'll close our program. On line 23, I went on to make the frame visible so that we can see the frame or the program. Then on line 25, I included the return statement to return this frame, so that anytime we call this method, we will be displaying it with the components in it. Guys, let's proceed to the layout. And basically today we are dealing with the border layout. If you have been following up with me in the previous sessions, we used to add this line, the .set layout manager. And we were saying set layout manager to null. What does this mean? This means that we have set our layout manager to null, so we are free to position our elements anywhere on our JFrame, as long as we define the location. For example, we can set we can set them, we can set the location using the set bounds, and where we will pass in the left margin, the top margin, the width, and the height. We have seen that in the previous sessions. So let me first clean my program by removing all the unused imports, so that will be on the same line. Guys, this time round on line 18, I'm not going to set our layout manager to null. I want our different to be having a border layout. So I'll come here and I'll create a new layout, which is a border layout. So I'll come here to check why is my program complaining. It needs an import for the border layout. I'll import it to harmonize the program. So we have set this layout. Now we will need to create the panels to see how this layout works. I'll create a J panel, name it panel 1 equals to new J panel. I'll import the panel, import the J panel, and also terminate. So I'll go on to set the size of our J panel. So I'll say panel 1 dot set preferred size, and I'll pass in a 500 width. Oh, hold on, this takes in a dimension. I'll pass in a new dimension of a 500 width, and I'll give it a, let me give it 100 height. I'll go on to give our panel a color. I'll say jpanel.set background color. So our panel 1.set background color, it's a red color. Then I'll proceed to add our panel to the J frame. So I've added panel 1. Guys, basically what I'm doing here, on line 23, I created J panel 1. On line 25, I set its size. On line 27, I set its background to red. And on line 30, I added it to the main frame. So let's run and see what we currently have. Currently, what we have is a red panel filling up everything in our J frame. Why is it like this? We added this panel directly to the frame, not to the layout, and we never specified the position of this panel in the frame. And also we used the preset preferred size. We were not strict on the size. So let's go on. For us to add this panel to the layout, to the layout of our frame, we will come here where we added our panel to the frame, and we add a comma. Then we will say border layout. Which border layout? This one, which we created. We say border layout dot, we specify the position, dot north. So let's run and see. So guys, when you look at our output, we have our border layout, and it is positioned in the north of our J frame. So let me show you this. When we go back to our program, first of all, I'll make the height of our panel 50, and I will go on to make its width 100. Guys, when you look at the width of our of our frame here, it's having a width of 500, but I'm setting our width here to 100. So let's run and see the output. So when you look at our output, the width of our panel, it's the same width as the J-frame. Why? Because this panel will fill up the entire north area of our J-frame. So that is why it will take up it's showing like this. So basically, when you set the width like this, when you set the width, it will not do a lot of changes because you have set this component to be in the node. But what will make a lot of difference here is setting the height. So this is on a component which is positioned in the node. Let's create another component and we'll see the difference. I'll create another component. I'll just copy this, paste it here, and make this one JPanel 2. I'll copy this, paste it here, and make this JPanel 2. I'll change this. I'll change this to 50 by 100. Why? Because this one will be positioned horizontally. So I'll first set its background color and make this one JPanel 2, and I'll give it a blue color. So I'll come here and add our JPanel 2 to the frame. But where am I going to add this? Let me add this to the west. So guys, I have added on line 24, I created another JPanel 2. On line 27, I set the preferred size of JPanel 2. Let me first leave this to 100 by 100 so that we see the difference. On line 30, I set the background color to blue, and on line 34, I added our JPanel 2 to the border layout in the west. Let me run and we see what we have. So currently, this is what we have. This is our JPanel 2, which is positioned in the west of our in the west of our J-frame, and it is we gave it a size of 100 by 100. So remember we said for this red panel the height was mattering, but the width didn't matter because the component was taking up the entire north area. So on this component, which is positioned horizontally, the height doesn't matter, but the width matters. Hold on. On this component, which is positioned horizontally, the height, for example, from here up to here, this is its height. It doesn't matter because this component is positioned in the west. But the width from here up to here, it matters. If you change this from here to here, it will change. But if you change the size from here to here, it will not change. It will keep taking the entire west area. Let us see that. So I'll come here and I'll flip this and I'll make this a 50 by 100. And I'll run to show you what I was trying to mean. So guys, if you look at our program, this is 50 by 100, but in reality, it's 50 from here up to here, and the size from here up to here, it's taking up the entire remaining size. So let's add other components. Let's add 3 components so that we make 5 and we see the difference. So I'll come here, I'll add another JPanel and name it JPanel 3. I'll set its size to, let me leave it of the same size. I'll give it a background color. The background color this time around, I'll give it a yellow. And I'll come here and add it to the frame. I'll put it in the east of our J frame. So let me add a fourth component, which is J panel 4. I'll give it a size. Its size will be 100 by 50. I'll give it a background color. Let me give it a background color of, let me choose from here. Let me give it cyan. And I'll also make this 4 and this 3. After that, I'll come and set this to the south of our J frame. And let me create also the fifth panel so that we best see what we need to see, or we see all the 5 positions. So I'll come here. I'll make this 5. And I'll say, let me make it 100 by 100. Either way, it doesn't matter because it will fill up the entire center of our J frame. So I'll get this, paste it here, change it to 5, and I'll give it a color like black. I'll come here and add it to our main frame. Make this 5, and I'll position this in the center. So guys, I think you can see what we have done. We have created other panels and set their dimensions or sizes. After that, we gave them background colors, and we came and added them to our frame in different locations. We added one in the west, in the east, in the south, in the center, and our first one is in the north. So let me run and we see our output. So currently, this is our output. This is our center panel, which is black. So if I stretch this J frame like this, you'll be able to see that our center panel will stretch. If I make this maximized, you'll be able to see that this center panel will stretch to fill up any extra space of our J frame. So this is basically the basics of the border layout. But it's also worth noting that a border layout, it's the default layout of the J frame. So by default, the J frame, it uses the border layout, but you can customize it and give it another layout. For example, a floor layout or a grid bag layout, any layout of your choice. But we can also give this border layout to a J panel. Where is the difference? The J frame uses a border layout by default. The J panel uses a flow layout by default. Let's see the let's experience this. Like let's develop it and we see the difference. For example, guys, when you look at this, we are adding all these panels to our main frame, which is a J frame. So we are going to create other panels and add them to one panel. For example, I will come here first of all, I'll first show you that by default, this JFrame uses a border layout. How will we see this? I'll come to this layout, border layout, where we are creating it from, and I'll comment it out. Then I'll run our program. When we run our program, we still have the same output. What does this show? That we are still positioning our components the same way, because by default, the JFrame uses a border layout. So I'll uncomment this slide so that we don't get confused. Then I'll create other frames and pack these frames in a JPanel so that we see the difference. So let me come here and I say these are my sub panels. So when I come in these sub panels, I'll first create other 5 panels. Let me do this and paste here. So I'll make this one panel 6, panel 7, panel 8, panel 9, and this panel 10. After that, I'll come and I'll set their size. Let me copy this and paste it here. I'll change this to panel 6, panel 7, panel 8, panel 9, and panel 10. After that, I'll come and give them colors. So I'll say this is panel 6, panel 7, panel 8, panel 9, and panel 10. I'll give them different colors. I'll make this orange. For the blue one, let me make it pink. For the yellow one, let me make it dark gray. For the cyan, let me make it green. For the black, let me make it white. White, or no, what should I give it? Let me give it magenta. So guys, line 42 to line 46, I've created 5 panels. These panels, I'm going to use them as sub panels. I will nest them in one panel. Line 48 to line 52, I've set their size. And then line 54 up to line 58, I have given them background colors. So I will go on and add them to one panel. Then let me copy this, paste it here. I'm going to add these panels. I'm going to add them to the panel which is in the center of our layout. Which panel is that? That is panel 5. I'll copy panel 5 and paste it here because it's where I'm going to add them. I want them to be nested in JPanel 5. I'll also come here and I change these panels. I change this to 6, this to 7, this to 8, this to 9, and this to 10. So guys, I think we are still on the same pace. So when I run my program, we should be able to see our panels nested in one panel. Which panel are they? They are in panel 5. But we are going to see these nested panels or these sub panels. They will be displayed in a flow layout, which is the default layout of the JPanel. So let me run our program. So guys, I'll make this bigger. When I make this bigger, I think you are able to see that these panels are flowing from one direction to another. They are in the center but flowing from one direction, from left to right. When I bring this closer like this, you see that these panels, they are wrapping. So let me give them the same size. If I come here and I say 100, 100, I give them all 100 by 100 so that they be normal squares. And I'll run my program again. So guys, if you look at them, they are now of the same size and they are normal squares. And they are organized in a flow layout. When they reach the breaking point here, they will wrap to another line. For example, in case they were in, the space was enough for them, they will be in the same line. So this is the flow layout. And by default, it's also having some margin. So we can also go on, by the way, to give a margin to our border layout. How can we do that? Let me first go back to the border layout here on our main frame. We can pass in insets for our margin. For example, we can say a margin of 10 by 10. If we run this, I think you can see that we have a margin here of 10, a margin here of 10, and a margin here of 10. So this margin is applied on the layout, on the border layout of the J-frame. So let's proceed to the layout of this J panel, this black J panel. So after showing you that by default it's coming with a flow layout, now we are going to go on this J panel, the black one, and we will set a border layout on this J panel. So what will I do? Let me first come here. Okay, I will not revert the sizes. Let me just give it a layout. Where is our border? Where is our J panel 5? It's here. J panel 5. To give it a border layout, I will just come here and I will say border J panel 5 dot set. I'll say dot set, and I will get the layout manager. Instead of setting it to null, I'll pass in a new border layout, same like we did on the J frame. After passing in the border layout, I can decide not to give it margins. Please take note, here I gave this one margins of 10 by 10. Here I have not given it margins. So let's see also the difference. So when I run my program, we should be able to see that now these panels in the black panel or in our panel 5 will be arranged also in a border layout. So let me run and we see. So currently, this is what we have. Let me make it big. When I make it big, you should be able to see that in the north, we have this orange here in the north. Then in the south, we have this green panel here. And on the left, we have this one, which is magenta. I think, I don't know, we have this color here. Then on the right, we have this. And in the middle, we have this. So I don't know why you would want to do this, but this is just for experiment to show you that we can give our panel a layout as well. We can give our J-frame a layout because these layouts come handy, or more useful when it comes to organizing our components in our containers. So guys, with this said, these are the basics of the border layout. We will proceed in other sessions with other layouts, for example, the flow layouts and other layouts.